Hello and welcome to the Book of Fire Imperium video, where today we're going to have a look at the rules for the Skitarii veteran cohort and the order of our Martyred lady. So these videos are designed for people who don't play these factions, so we're not going to go through every single rule. For example, we're not going to explain to you how to make a Skitarii veteran cohort, but what we are going to do is tell you the main rules you need to know if you're going to play against these factions and hopefully beat them. If that's possible. So let's jump in then. I'm joined, of course, by Alfred. Alfred, how are you today?
I am good, thank you.
Cool. Well, do you want to start us off then with the big one, the Skitarii veteran cohort? So what do people need to know if they're up against this on the table?
Sure thing. So you may have noticed in 9th edition that Admech are now a horde army. That's sort of a bit new to me, but that's how it's gone. So Skitarii veterans, you're going to see Rangers and Vanguard getting a load of buffs. So for the Rangers, they get +1 leadership and attack and a 5+ invulnerable save. And in addition, if they don't move, they get cover. That makes them a lot more survivable, and if you charge them, they'll be a little bit more killy in return. For the Vanguard, you're also getting that 5+ invuln, that leadership and attack, but in addition, they're going to be ignoring blast, and that's big because one of the key ways that you'd usually want to take out these kind of hordes is with blast weapons, making sure that those blast weapons have max shots. In this case, they don't get that.
Yeah, it's super strong.
And make sure you check out our other Admech gotcha guide to see what kind of defensive buffs that they can stack on top of these.
Yeah, they're definitely a lot once you put it all together. This is going to be a tricky one to deal with for some armies.
And once you have checked our gotcha guide, you'll know about their doctrine imperatives. And the relic in this book allows a core unit within 9 or a core data teller unit anywhere on the battlefield to gain the effects of an inactive doctriner.
Yeah, I really like that. So that's a relic to give anyone on the board an extra ballistic skill if they need, or extra movement, or an extra save. So that could be something that's really strong.
The main warlord trait they get with this book is they allow some of the stratagems to be used for less CP. So some of the key strats that they can make cheaper is Binaric Offense, which is +1 to wound for 2 core units when they shoot, but they can only target 1 opposing unit. Of course, that's super strong because some of their really key units like the Iron Striders are core. They've also got Aggression Overload for an extra attack on the charge on those units of Vanguard that already have 2 attacks because they're veterans, and they already do -1 toughness to the enemy nearby because of their radiation. That becomes a really strong melee unit as well as that shooting they can put out. They've also got strats for a 5-up Feel No Pain and to advance and charge.
So I think the thing to be mindful of here is not only are these people going to be incredibly good at shooting, but actually they're not terrible in combat as well. They have got a lot of attacks, potentially 3 a model. So, be careful. Don't just think you can get near them and you'll be fine. On to the order of our Martyred lady, or UML, if you prefer their acronym, but let's jump in then. So they obviously get a bunch of new stuff in this book, and some of it is definitely pretty tasty. So just as a reminder, their faction trait is to gain a miracle dice in each phase they lose a unit. A unit will also get +1 to hit if any models in the unit have been destroyed. What's also good to note though is that they also get +1 to hit with a stratagem against vehicles or against units with over 5 models. In terms of their warlord traits, I'm not going to go through all of them. They can actually double up on their warlord traits to make some pretty beefy canonesses, for example, if they'd like. But they have warlord traits to reduce damage. They have warlord traits to pass warlord traits on if their warlord is kills, kind of like the Alpha Legion, if you're familiar with that one. And they have one to allow models and units nearby to deal mortal wounds to attacking units if the Spirit of the Martyr Rite of Battle is active. Once again, do check our previous video on the Adeptus Sororitas if you haven't already done so.
And I just want to make a note here that I, Alfred Farius, have never heard of the Alpha Legion.
Okay, and there's actually one last warlord trait I just wanted to mention, because you've got a pretty cool combo here between a warlord trait and a relic. Martyr's Strength is a warlord trait for +1 attack and strength for each wound the warlord has lost. This is capped at 2. And they also have a relic called the Blade of Sacrifice, which is a cool power sword. And what it does is you can take 1 to 2 wounds, and then if the bearer successfully wounds their opponent and they can get up to strength 6, it will just deal mortal wounds equal to the number of the damage that they've taken. So this is a lot of mortal wounds potentially. It's going to be really good for killing those high invuln models, things that have damage reduction. So actually it sounds quite memey, but in the right position it's going to be really strong. So that's going to be a very killy canoness. And then a couple of other relics just to mention, so they can get access to 2-up Invuln for the phase that can't be re-rolled, but definitely really strong if they really need to keep a character alive. And an Imagifier can once per game grant an aura of +1 attack for nearby core and character units, which in a pinch is always going to really help out a Sisters player. And of course they have a bunch of extra stratagems that they're going to be allowed to do. So from the book, if you remember, Order of our Martyred Lady units can get +1 to wound against one of your units if that unit has killed an Order of our Martyred Lady character. So they basically get really angry if you've killed one of their beloved martyrs. Then if you're orcs, of course watch out because they hate you, so they're going to reroll hits in combat against you. Orcs, orcs, orcs. They can count their vehicles as having not degraded, and something to be really mindful of is if you're shooting an Order of a Martyred Lady unit, make sure you wipe it if you get it under half strength, because they can actually pay 2 CP to shoot you back in your shooting phase with the remainder of that unit, which is pretty darn cool. Then we have Martyr's Pyre, because of course they love burning things, and so they can change their flame weapons into pistols, and not only that, they kind of overcharge them. So they roll dice after they fired those weapons, so for each roll of a 1, the model is slain, but that model can shoot again. So it's pretty cool. So you don't just think you can tag that flamer unit and you'll be fine. Oof. Another benefit for infantry or Paragon warsuits is that they can actually get objective secured for just 1 CP, and if it's already a Sisters of Battle unit, they can count each of those models as 2 models for the purposes of objective secured to really steal that objective from you. And the final one, just to mention, they can use a stratagem to kind of count a Sisters unit as being under an Astartes banner, so they can shoot a weapon or make a single attack on their death on a 4-up, which is always going to be really interesting.
So I'm just imagining, I think I'm a big-eyed scary orc, but then all of a sudden these flaming nuns come running at me and just decimate me, and it's terrifying.
And that's it for the video today, folks. So we'll be doing another video for the Warzone Caradon Chaos stuff, specifically Chaos Space Marines, of course. And so do check out that one, which will be out shortly. Thank you very much for watching this one. Please do like and subscribe, and do check the corresponding gotcha guides for Sisters and Admech if you're not familiar with their rules. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.